We're live in Banjul, broadcasting for viewers in the Gambia and around the world. This is GRTS News at 2000 hours with me by Ibrahim Cham. And in our top stories this evening, Cabinet approves a paper seeking a review of some basic procurement requirements for the Gambia National Petroleum Company, GNPC, at the 4th Cabinet meeting at State House. His Excellency President Adama Barrow sends tribute to the UK on the demise of Queen Elizabeth, celebrating the monarch's selflessness and dedication to service. The British High Commissioner to the Gambia, David Belgrove, describes the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II as a moment of great sadness for the United Kingdom and the world. In sports, prominent sports personalities across Africa pay tribute to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth as the Premier League calls off weekend matches to mark the Queen's death. Away from home, the death of Queen Elizabeth II sparks a wave of condolences from around the world as her eldest son, King Charles III, replaces the long-reigning monarch. Elsewhere, United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres appeals for more international support for Pakistan as 2 months of rain floods large strips of the country. Well, that's the top of the news and more coming ahead with me by Ibrahim Cham. Many thanks for joining us. Executive, because at the 4th Cabinet meeting at the State House, Cabinet discussed and approved a paper presented by the Minister of Petroleum and Energy that sought to exempt the Gambia National Petroleum Company, GNPC, from the Gambia Public Procurement Authority approval on the procurement of petroleum trading products. The decision, as revealed by the Minister of Information, Lamin Queen Jame, is necessary as the requirement impedes the GNPC's ability to ensure availability of petroleum products. Mumdu Jallo reports.
At the Grand Tent, Cabinet considered and approved a paper presented by the Minister of Petroleum and Energy, Abdul Job, which seeks to review some of the basic procurement requirements for the Gambia National Petroleum Company, GNPC. According to the Information Minister, Lamin Queen Jame, Cabinet granted approval to a request for the President to invoke Section 20, Subsection 5 of the Gambia Public Procurement Authority Act 2014 and exempt the Gambia National Petroleum Company from GPPA approval on the procurement of trading products.
According to the Honorable Minister, the application of the GPPA Act impedes GNPC's ability to ensure availability of petroleum products in country. He went further to remind Cabinet that other than the common expectation that GNPC is supposed not only to be profit-driven and a stabilizer of the market, but also important to be understood is the fact that energy is a national security matter and cannot be left entirely in the hands of the private sector.
The Information Minister also disclosed that Cabinet also approved a request to delegate its approval responsibility under the same section to a Cabinet subcommittee comprising the Ministers of Petroleum and Energy, Finance and Economic Affairs, and Trade, Employment and Regional Integration.
A realistic critique looking at all the possible implications. The other line of authority that was also granted was the responsibility that Cabinet has in giving approval, which is also, by virtue of this acceptance and approval, delegated to the Honorable Minister of Energy and Petroleum, the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, and the Honorable Minister of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment, all with the interest of enabling activities of the GNPC in a swift and efficient manner.
These decisions, Minister Jame concluded, are necessary to enhance the competitiveness of the Gambia National Petroleum Company and eliminate fuel shortages and its ability to destroy or destabilize the economy, thus threatening national security. Mumdu Jallo, GRTS News.
On a sad note and special coverage marking the death of Queen Elizabeth, who died peacefully on Thursday at her Balmoral retreat in Scotland. Her Majesty, the Queen Elizabeth II, ascended the throne in 1952 and reigned for more than 70 years as Britain's longest-serving monarch, becoming queen at the tender age of 25. Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor won fans across the world and played a big role in the global stage, representing UK in the Global Front and Commonwealth, which she led all through her reign. The Queen received 113 state visits and made 99 official trips around the world. Tributes and messages of condolences have been streaming in around the world, with world leaders, including the Gambia's President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, tweeting a message of tribute, which reads, "I join the world in mourning the demise of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. She lived an exemplary life of selflessness, tenacity, and dedication to service. Gambians, join me to extend condolences to Her Majesty King Charles III, the royal family, Britain, the Commonwealth, and the entire world." David Belgrove, the British High Commissioner to the Gambia, also described the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth as a moment of great sadness for the people of the United Kingdom and the world. The top British diplomat was speaking during a press conference at the British Embassy in the Gambia, where envoys gathered to pay tribute to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, who died peacefully on Thursday at 96. Let's take a listen.
The death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II is a moment of great sadness for the people of the United Kingdom and many people around the world. We mourn as a country. For the people of the United Kingdom, she has been a constant, a source of inspiration and dignity throughout our lives, a thread that has united us across generations. She served her country and the Commonwealth with devotion to duty, with dignity and grace for 70 years. When we marked her Platinum Jubilee in July this year, we celebrated a full life of achievement and true devotion to all those she served. We thank His Excellency President Barrow and all those here in the Gambia from all walks of life who have expressed their condolences on her passing. We thank them for their kind and heartfelt words. The crown has now passed to our new monarch, our new head of state, His Majesty King Charles III. The United Kingdom will now enter a period of official mourning, which we will hold until after Her Majesty's funeral. A condolence book will be available for signing next week, and we will be posting details about this on social media. God save the King. Thank you.
Still on the demise of the monarch, it will be recalled that the Queen has toured British colonies in Africa, and the Gambia is not an exception. GRTS News Desk had an interview with Hasum Cisse, the Director General of the National Centre for Arts and Culture, on that historic visit and the death of the British longest-serving monarch. Let's take a listen.
Well, it is indeed the end of an era in British life. She was like you rightly said, the longest-serving monarch, and it looks like it would be a very, very tall order to really outdo her, as far as longevity is concerned. She had, some special, attachment to the Gambia, and like we said in the introduction, during our tour of former colonies and in the early 1960s, she visited the Gambia just at the dawn of independence. That was in the first week of December 1961. She spent 3 days here, went to Njawara, went to Brikama for a chiefs, conference, we had a very, very, mediatized, tour of the Victoria Hospital.
Right.
In fact, it was because of her visit on that day at the hospital that the hospital was, rebaptized the Royal Victoria Hospital, in honor of, her grandmother, Queen Victoria.
Right.
But much earlier in 1925, her father, as Prince of Wales, also visited. And then, her husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, also visited in 1957. For 3 days also. So in fact, the husband, visited the Gambia before the Queen. And in 61, she and the husband again came to the Gambia. And in addition to that, the Queen was really at the center of, the entire, decolonization process, of the country. In fact, she signed, on our instruments of independence, for the Gambia to become independent on the 18th of February 1965.
Right, quite interesting events there, Hasum. Now, Her Majesty the Queen has served, 70 years on the throne, experiencing different geopolitical events spanning generations around the world. What impact did her rule have on the UK as well as the world as a whole?
Well, I think, the impact is really, very, very, positive, because the monarchy is a tradition. One, very sad thing is, to colonize us, they have to destroy, our monarchies, being that of the, Valdez in Colorado or the, Sonkos in Nyomi and so on. But, for Great Britain, and particularly during her, long, tenure as Queen, she brought stability, economic, stability, the IRA, troubles, all these were things that, during her tenure, she was able to, to solve. I think one of her abiding legacies is really her ability to keep, Great Britain, as one. Although, of course, she lost the empire, she lost a great chunk of the British Empire. But Britain as, a nation, as a country, remains. But of course, also with the Scottish, desire for independence. The jury is still out on that.
Right.
And really coming to the rest of the world, she symbolized, I think, tradition, and that is very, very important. Tradition and continuity. I think those are two things, she symbolized for Great Britain and for the rest of the world.
Now, as a historian, you have respectable knowledge about issues and events that have to do with the royal family. What should we expect in the coming days?
Well, already, Charles, has been declared, the new king. So from 70 years of having a queen to, long live the king now. That's what the British papers, will say tomorrow. In their tomorrow, in the, like the summer of 1952, when her father died, suddenly, and there was a lot of mourning, in the Gambia here, because then we are, a British colony, and there was this, very, very strong attachment, to the UK. So Charles will take over, and then, I'm sure the coronation, will take place, sometime early next year, and then, she will, her, legacy will continue, through, I am sure, the, able hands, of King Charles. No, but really coming back to her, she gave, she had a very, very close tie with a political leader. In 2017, she granted audience, to President Barrow. I think that was the first audience, like in, with the Gambian president, in close to 30 years. Sadauda met, the Queen over half a dozen times, and of course it was the Queen also, who knighted Sadauda in 1966, knighted Sir Ferdinand Singate, 2 years later, knighted Sir Aliu Jack, 2 years later. So the Queen had, very, very close ties, with Gambian political leadership, really dating back, to the days of independence, up to the, advent of power of, His Excellency President Barrow.
That was Fatimata Cham speaking to Hasum Sise, the director of the National Center for Arts and Culture, on the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Now moving on, the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources joined partners on Friday to validate the Gambia's long-term climate neutral development strategy 2050. The long-term strategy aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and adapt viable measures to reduce the impacts of climate change. As Usman Mane tells us, the new validated climate mitigation strategy attracts a cost of $1.3 billion for implementation towards 2050.
Stakeholders in the country are aware of the impacts of climate change as currently being felt in our communities through severe floods and windstorms. These negative environmental and climate change effects inform the formulation of the long-term strategy of 2050 by Environment and Climate Change Ministry and partners to better place the country on a workable climate actions. The strategy is a follow-up to the country's NDCs, which could be submitted to the upcoming COP27 in Egypt. The newly appointed Permanent Secretary, Aliou Ndiaye, recognized the current state of the country, where the capital city and other communities are seriously affected by floods and other disasters. He said the strategy will serve as a guide to policymakers and the ministry towards climate change mitigation. Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Julde Cisse, assured the availability and commitment to resource mobilization to the full implementation of the strategy.
The establishment of the Gambia Climate Change Fund is adaptable of drawing down and pooling multiple resources of international and national finance. Through this initiative, the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs efforts in terms of supporting increased resilience is inevitable. More importantly, targeting the capacity building component of this strategy to be delivered in the soonest.
The Environment Minister, Rohit John Manjang, is convinced with the technical capability of stakeholders to finalize a document fit for purpose. She urged development partners to support government's climate actions.
The international community, I know some are here, inasmuch as we are very ambitious, but our muscles are not very strong to implement some of these programs. Climate change demands heavy investment, and that heavy investment requires support. We are not trying to make that we are demanding for climate justice. No, that's not the least what we are saying. But we are saying that inasmuch as we are taking the responsibility that we've contributed very insignificant amount to this menace. But again, you also put up to your responsibility and support us. Support us in our solidarity to make sure that we make this world an efficient livelihood where we can all live comfortably as the genuine and decent human beings.
Ibrahim Jawara is the Deputy Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Environment. He doubles as the National Coordinator of the LTS project.
The current cost is at $1.3 billion. That's what we need to combat climate change. And of course, this money would go towards reforestation, improved vehicles, maybe subsidies for gas to replace firewood and charcoal. I'm glad to say that we've got the Islamic Development Bank here today. They've shown great interest in the LTS. And I believe they may be one of the first of our development partners to actually put their money where it should be to fight climate change.
With the validated long-term strategy, officials are hopeful that the upcoming COP27, due to take place in November in Egypt, will provide an opportunity for big emitters who committed themselves to supporting the developing countries, including the Gambia, in their mitigation and adaptation strategies to achieve net zero by 2050. Usman Mane, GRTS.
Now, inner city families across the metropolis and West Coast are on high alert amid increased risk of disasters being triggered by heavy rains and windstorms. Now, powerful windstorms accompanied by heavy rains on Wednesday didn't come by surprise in the Greater Banjul area. The aftermath has seen serious damages to homes and properties of people. Now, several families in Lamin Newtown have suffered great loss and are in dire need of general assistance. More in this report. Households have been seriously affected by yesterday evening windstorms with similar damages. Siakaba showed us the damage the wind has caused, blowing off at least half of his entire roof, thereby allowing the rain to have a free flow into their rooms, causing significant damage to their valuables. One of the inhabitants got injured as a log fell on her foot. Another woman was injured on the back.
Flat screen, tele, mobile yep yaaxu nañ ci ay wardrobe yaaxu nañ ci ak amna ay white ceiling yu nekk ci yep collapse dafa yaaxu so buñu xaymé ñu gis né dal lu yaaxu is from between $250 to $300,000 dal because so gisé société roof bi ay process mo fa nekk.
We proceeded to the home of Aliou Sarr, whose entire roof has been blown away, causing him and his entire family of 20 to camp in their neighbor's room. Aliou begged for the relevant authorities to come to their aid.
Because
at least 100 meters away, natives of Sambukunda were also awakened in the early hours in the morning to a crashing roof. Jacob Sambu, the patriarch of the household, stated that they lost everything, but he is grateful that no one was injured.
When I heard the wind blowing, it just suddenly came. So when it just suddenly came, we just heard a noise, woo, 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 then all the roof was just taken off. Each and every one of us was in. Even my wife was in bed. So most of this dust and then the ceilings in the inside, some of them fall on top of my wife's bed. So I just rush up and then go and check them how they are, and I found them just woke up. I say, okay. Then I opened the back door, say, let them just take the back door.
A few electric poles were also caught up in the disaster. Engineers from NARIC were working tirelessly to restore the power lines, which can also be a recipe for disaster, as electrical lines were lowered to the ground. These are just a few of many casualties across the country during windstorms, as the realities of climate change in the Gambia overpowers the climate action and adaptation, thereby making the whole country vulnerable. Officials of the Central Forecast Office warned that heavy rains are predicted on Friday evening. Reporting for GRTS News, I'm by Ibrahim Cham. Matters now because the Ministry of Health is currently on another round of COVID-19 vaccination across the country. The health officials are working on a target of 70% of the population to be vaccinated to meet the WHO standards in vaccinations. Joining us live on the line is the Director of Health Promotion and Education, Modun Jai, to tell us about efforts of health workers in boosting public confidence in COVID vaccines. Mr. Jai, good evening.
Good evening, Ibrahim, and thank you for inviting me.
Okay, now tell us, what are you doing to improve people's confidence to take up vaccine jabs?
Thank you. Before maybe we go into that one, I want to give a short background about what is happening with regards to COVID-19. I think people might think that COVID has gone, but we still have COVID around. And then referring back to our national situation report, which is the 458th National Situation Report from the 26th and 31st of August, we have recorded a total number of about, I would say 25 cases, 10,000 new cases, bringing to a total number of 12,395 confirmed cases since we started recording in March 2020. So meaning that COVID is still around between this period, 26th to 31st, we have recorded 25 new cases. So meaning we still have to continue taking the vaccine. So the health workers have been really working very hard, and they have been going to communities, raising awareness, and also on the safety and the effectiveness of the vaccine to the communities they are working. And they also raise awareness to reduce the misconception, because really we know there are rumors and misconceptions around the vaccine. So the health workers are really working very hard on the background and also using all avenues, using the reproductive and child health clinics, the RAMCA clinics, and as well as also doing other outreach activities they are doing. They use that opportunity to be able to talk to the people to ensure that they reduce the misconceptions and also the rumors around the vaccine.
Okay.
They also try to increase the uptake of vaccine through the community engagement. They also engage the multi-sectoral, multi-disciplinary facilitation teams, and they also work very closely with the religious leaders and opinion leaders, district authorities, and the chiefs, and as well as alcalos. So they're working very hard to make sure that at least they can be able to raise the coverage. Because right now, as of our last coverage campaign, maybe just last month, we are able to reach about 20.3%, which is still low. And our target up to December is to reach out to 70%. So that means we need to work very hard, and then in addition to what the health workers are doing, meaning they need the support from all angles, from the religious leaders, from the opinion leaders, from the traditional leaders, traditional healers, and all other factors at the community level. The health workers need their support, and also with our collaborators within the districts and within the regions, and also at national level, we need to work together to be able to raise the number from this 20% to at least up to close to 70% by the end of December 2022.
Okay, Mr. Njai, now in your advocacy campaign to communities, what are the people's reactions to taking up vaccines, considering the low hype of COVID-19 recently?
Yeah, many people have the belief that COVID is gone, so there is no need for them to get vaccinated, and this is where our workers have been working very hard to engage them, to tell them the implications of not getting vaccinated, because we need to at least protect ourselves and also the people around us, especially our families we are working with. So if one is vaccinated within the household, it really is not a good sign that the entire family will be protected. So these are some of the messages they are sending out to them, and I think based on that, we are also trying to break certain barriers. Many people link the vaccine to infertility in women, and also as well as to men. So and some of them have also those misconceptions around. So what we are also now doing now, we're also trying to relay the facts, because trying to show them the realities on the ground by showing them our health workers who have taken the vaccine. These are females and they are having children, and these are also men and they are also having children. So meaning those rumors that they have been spreading, some of those rumors really are things that they need to drop and then continue to take the vaccine. So we have tested this strategy in other communities around the borderline, especially with the support we had from IOM. This strategy was tested in Sierra South, and then we were able to get people to come out in their numbers after breaking the barriers. So that's what we are doing currently, to break the barriers and ensure that the rumors are addressed. And we are also using community structures now to be able to help us to address the rumors. So really, we are now involving the people in addressing the rumors. So therefore, this is something that, and the people are also hearing the voices of their own people. We had a strategy by engaging the radio and television programs, and at the radio at community level, we have the community radio station where we are identifying, and where we normally identify key influencers to go to the radio and talk to their people about the vaccination and its importance. And that is really encouraging many people to come on board to get vaccinated. But we still have some challenges in terms of the numbers.
Thank you very much for your time, Director Njai.
Thank you very much.
That was Mamoudou Njai, Director of Health Promotion and Education at the Health Ministry. Now, away from that, we head to the Upper River region, where the Ahmadiyya Muslim Students Association, AMSA, is holding its 8th biannual convention from September 6th to the 12th, in which hundreds of Ahmadiyya students across the country attending the week-long educational camp. Now, the biannual conference, taking place at the Nasir Senior Secondary School in the Upper River region, is meant to strengthen mutual love, understanding and commitment to the service of Islam under the theme, Education is the Key to Success. Our Upper River region correspondent, Seydou Kamara, covered the opening ceremony.
This is the 8th National Biannual Convention of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Student Association, with the theme on promoting education as the key to success. The educational and social gathering primarily bring together all Ahmadiyya students around the country to foster mutual love, understanding, and commitment to the service of Islam. Speaking at the opening ceremony, the principal of Nasir Ahmadiyya Senior Secondary School, Karamo Toure, welcomed participants and highlighted the physical, moral, and spiritual development opportunities of the educational convergence.
Education has to do with training that leads to the acquisition of knowledge, and skills that are needed to provide essential services for the community.
The chairman of the organizing committee, Mobesir Ba, gave an overview of the conference and rules that govern the biannual Ahmadiyya Student Convention.
During this convention, we will have daily lectures on academic subjects such as mathematics, English, science, and also we are also going to have religious topics such as Death of Isa, Khilafat, Imam Mahdi, and basic Arabic as well.
We, all the students, are encouraged to increase zikrillah, that is the remembrance of Allah. Because our beloved Hazur has always mentioned this. As Ahmadis, whether students or non-students, wherever we are, wherever we converge in each and every gathering, the primary obligation on us is to remember zikrillah, always to remember our Lord.
The representative of the Ahmadiyya missionary in the region, Musa Sane, described the development of good moral attitudes, honesty, and discipline as fundamental components of the educational camp.
Education and morality is the key to success. Not only education as a stand-alone thing. And this is why AMSA, you should be exemplary students in all the respective schools that you are, so that at least your attitude, your behavior, and your academic performance should attract your other fellow students.
The AMSA Women's Wing President, Maria Madrame, outlined the importance of the student convention, underscoring obligation on all Muslims to seek knowledge, irrespective of their agenda.
The overall aim of this convention is to develop morality and spirituality of the Ahmadi Muslim students, thereby becoming ambassadors of the Imam of the age. Since the first convention in 1999 in Mansa Concord, and then 2001 in Basse, and today, the 8th National Convention, other purpose is to motivate Ahmadi students in their academic endeavors. And as per instructions of Huzur, Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nazir al-Aziz, they should strive to reach the highest heights in academic and professional pursuits, which women are not an exception to.
Chief Guest Speaker Musaba said the meaning of education should be looked at critically from a broader perspective to redefine pathways and attitudes to learning and student development.
There's a problem of confusing two words, educated and literate. They are not the same. Literacy talks about the ability to read and write, whereas education is something completely different. It talks about the acquiring of skills, life skills, which can help you survive, live in this world. What skills? Any skills.
The 8th biannual Ahmadiyya Student Convention incorporates various activities including academic forums and community services such as cleansing exercise in Basse. The participants here are expected to firmly adhere to the rules and regulations of the convention, with male students disallowed from accessing female student dormitories, alongside sanctions on abusive language, fighting, and unethical behavior towards lecturers leading the educational camp. Seydou Kamara, reporting for GRTS News from Basse Upper River Region.
Now join the Central Forecast Office for an outlook of the weather conditions in the country.
Country, always thirsty for more. A team of superheroes with special powers unite to redefine the way we are connected. Big Farm Vegas steps up your communication with the DOK service, giving you 1,000 minutes of talk time to one special person for $150 is only. Valid for 1 month. Enjoy your talk time. Type SUB and send by SMS to 135 to activate the TOK service. AfriCell got office with the power to change the world. AfriCell is setting trends once again. I'm sure you still love WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and Viber. Your favorite GSM operator, AfriCell, knows this. That's why you can now enjoy more at the same price. Activate the social media bundle and be online for 24 hours for $10 is only.
Hello! Activate the social media bundle for $10 is only and receive 40 megabytes.
Where AfriCell goes, nobody dares to follow.
How to sign up. Download and install the app from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. Launch the app and click Get Started. Enter your account number and the password that was sent to you via email or SMS and click Login. Accept the service agreement and proceed to the next page. Enter the token that was sent to you via SMS and email and click Verify. Choose a username. Enter the password that was sent to you via SMS or email, choose your password and click Confirm. Select a transaction authentication type and click Verify. If you selected PIN as the authentication type, choose your 4-digit PIN, enter it again and click Confirm. If you selected OTP, an OTP will be sent to you via SMS and email. Set your security questions and answers and you are all set. Now you can log in with your new username and password. You can also enter your username and log in with your fingerprint or facial recognition if this feature is supported by your device. Let's go digital.
Well, we start off sports with some breaking news. As the Gambia national under-20 team keeps their title defense ambitions alive as they defeated Mali 4-2 in a post-match penalty shootout in the semi-finals to advance to the finals of the WAFU Zone A Championship. The young Scorpions first conceded in the first half, but they bounced back and leveled matters in the second half through Aliou Jiba in the 83rd minute, which sends the game into extra time before the Gambia eventually advanced to edge out Mali and set up a tie with either Senegal or Mauritania, who will be playing in the second semi-finals. We say congratulations to the young Scorpions for reaching a back-to-back final. Now you're watching us live from Banjul. This is GRTS News with me by Ibrahim Cham. A quick reminder of our top stories this hour. Cabinet has approved a paper seeking a review of some basic procurement requirements for the Gambia National Petroleum Company, GNPC, at the 4th Cabinet meeting at State House. His Excellency President Adama Barrow has extended condolences to the UK on the demise of Queen Elizabeth II, hailing the monarch's selflessness and strong dedication to service. The British High Commissioner to the Gambia, David Belgrove, described the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II as a moment of great sadness for the United Kingdom and the world. In sports, prominent sports personalities across Africa have been paying tribute to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II as the Premier League calls off weekend matches to mark the monarch's death. Away from home, the death of Queen Elizabeth II is sparking a wave of condolences from around the world as her eldest son, King Charles III, replaces the long-reigning monarch. Elsewhere, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has appealed for more international support for Pakistan as 2 months of rain floods large sweeps the country. Well, that's all we have in this edition of GRTS News. Many thanks for watching. Do join us at 2200 hours for more news. Until then, please enjoy the rest of our programs.